one other point. I chaired the Global Belt and Road Forum as part of Belt and Road Week last week. The Belt and Road Forum itself had over 7,000 people, and it was run by the Trade Development Council. But the Global Belt and Road Forum is an add-on for 200 plus business associations worldwide to understand about the Belt and Road and Hong Kong's role. Obviously, these days, given the political environment, one needs to be quite careful. So someone with great amusement said, we managed to have a Global Belt and Road Forum without the expression Belt and Road being mentioned once in 3.5 hours. What we did is we actually called it GBA and RCEP, opportunities for growth and collaboration. And I just want to leave this with dear colleagues on the call. RCEP has just been signed and is about to get fully endorsed by a mainland government. RCEP will create the biggest trading bloc in the world. It would dwarf the EU in terms of population. The very interesting question is, what does it mean? And I think, Mike, in our next meeting, we should definitely have a run through on RCEP and TTP, where we are on these big trade partnership agreements, because after all, PBEC's about trade. But big picture is the members of RCEP, and I think the 17 countries, and most of ASEAN is in it, and Hong Kong is applying, get tariff-free trade. And then you start to look at movement of goods and services. But with all things in this part of the world, it's not a question of what it is today. It's a question of what it could mean 2 years down the track, 3 years down the track. And the linkages of RCEP into Greater Bay Area, where Greater Bay Area generating a lot of wealth, a lot of companies looking to go overseas on business, probably first step Hong Kong, second step ASEAN or RCEP countries. The linkages are very, very significant. So I think very much close watch, Mike, on TTP, where that's going, which the UK has actually applied to, and RCEP, and then what it means in the new geopolitical landscape, I think will be very interesting moving forward. And maybe I'll just stop there, Mike, just to share some reflections. Don't want to hog where we are, but there's a lot of moving parts at the moment. And I was on the call to board of a major global bank headquarters last night to talk about US, China, regional, and all I said was there is a disconnect between what's in the newspapers, particularly in the West, and the reality on the ground. The reality on the ground in terms of business activity is much, much better than is reported in the international press. And generally the situation is much, much better. But things have changed and the situation is dynamic. And keeping under review the geopolitical relationships and government relationships in Hong Kong mainland, in the region, has become increasingly important. And the key is that people keep alert to how fluid it is and keep agile. And there's a couple of examples of companies in Hong Kong who very quickly found themselves on the wrong side of the fence on a particular issue. And then how do you handle it? It just requires considerable agility. And the best starting point is to realize that things are changing. Things do change quickly. And in our organizations, do we have enough levers and enough links into government and other organizations to understand these trends? And I suppose, Mike, that then gives a particular role for PBEC.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I've been making some notes, and I agree, there's definitely opportunity to talk more about RCEP, especially on the back that Hong Kong is applied to join, and the linkages into GBA and to other regions as well. I mean, we have Australia represented today, or Malaysia, all key trading partners of China and Japan and Korea. It's one of the few agreements where Korea and Japan are involved as well. So with that, I'm going to hand the floor.
Sorry, Mike, just reminded me, sorry, on Australia, for Australian, but another disconnect is between what is said in the political sphere and then what's even the political business sphere is different. So there's great, I think, concern about the Australia-China relationship in China and in Hong Kong. It's a very sensitive one, but I think there's a great desire to get on with business as well. And UK, which obviously I'm very closely connected with what UK government's doing and everything. You know, the irony is there's the Vice Premier, so it slipped my mind, Li Qiang, isn't it, hosting a China Business Council to talk about business opportunities in a webinar the same day as there's a political squabble happening. So there is a real desire, I think, in this part of the world to get on with business. And there's a lot of collaboration behind the scenes going on. And that is seen as separate to the political the political squabbles, which I think are significant, and if we're honest, they're going to be long term.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to now just hand over the floor now to our Vice Chairman, Dr. Moses Cheng, who's joining us. Moses, good morning.
Good morning. Hi, everybody. And it's great to see some of you on the screen. But let me take this opportunity to wish everyone a very good day. And I understand that there are people joining in the afternoon and there are people joining in the evening. So it's a good day to everyone. And I would just like to say a few words on the situation of the COVID-19 pandemic in Hong Kong. It's good news that starting from next week, non-Hong Kong residents from China and Macau can apply on a daily quota to come into Hong Kong, provided that you have been inoculated with the vaccine, and then you would have to go through the tests. And but it's good because I think the lockdown has been too long and is affecting the economy terribly, especially in the retail business, as well as even in the insurance business that I'm familiar with. Now, just in case you're wondering why I have a virtual background showing a crest that is not familiar to you, I think some of you will realize that is the crest of the Hong Kong Anglican Church. The only reason why is because I had just finished another meeting on Zoom with that background. It's not enough time for me to sort of switch to another virtual background. But I think that's...
Maybe, Moses, you could sign up the church as a member of PBEC.
I would try. I would make that proposal to the Archbishop, and I'm sure that you understand that I serve also as a Chancellor of the Church, and that is occupying quite a bit of my time these days, especially with all these changes of government policy in terms of public participation in church activities and church services. But anyway, let's get back to your point on the national sanction laws. I think we need to have more people expressing your views. I think that is going to have a much greater impact than what government official or even law draftsman will be able to imagine. I think the real impact is there. And I had last week I had the opportunity of expressing the views of the insurance industry to the government official, and hoping that they would really study the impact of this national sanction law in particular to the impact that it would have on Hong Kong as an international finance center, and then that's very important. I think everyone will know that for over 2 years now, I have not been traveling. But in the good old days, sometimes I travel twice a week to Beijing for meetings, and I travel out of Hong Kong for meetings, and it seems that life still can go on without traveling. But on the other hand, I think I love to see people, I love to meet people, and I'm looking forward to physical meetings of PBEC, and where we can all meet together and share views around the table rather than through the Zoom, which is, I mean, it's effective, but on the other hand, I think sometimes it's very, very tiring for the eyes and for the person if you have to attend about 5 to 6 Zoom meetings a day. And that's again, that shows how technology have helped us during this COVID-19 pandemic. But of course, the technology is fundamentally changing our lives. And I'm sure that later on our speakers will be speaking on this topic. And I think it seems that we can't live a day without referring to fintech or insurtech or new technology, high tech and low tech, and technology seems to be dictating how we live. And I would like to just leave two thoughts with everyone. I believe that technology is there to help us live a better life, and it should not be dictating our lives. It seems to me that there are a lot of people whose lives are being dictated by technology, including our younger generation. And it's come to the stage that a lot of younger generation communicate very effectively and efficiently on the internet, but when they see each other face to face, it seems that they can't talk to each other. Even in a family, if you go out on Sunday and you go out to a restaurant, you can see that the family sitting together around the table, every one of them holding their handphone and chatting to someone. And at one time, I experienced two staff in my office sitting sort of next to each other, but communicating using the handphone. Now that's something which I think we have come to the stage that we need to really look at technology, how it is affecting our life, and how we should use technology so that it help us rather than dictate how we live. And the second thought that I would like to leave with you is that during the pandemic, I think we realize how healthy we are, and I would urge everyone to seriously plan into the timetable every day that you should take time to exercise to maintain your good health. So on that note, I wish everyone stay happy, stay healthy, and I hope to see you all soon, face to face. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Moses. And you're remaking yourself as a wellness guru now. It's very good advice, I think you say, about technology and about making time for ourselves. I think it's very well said. Thank you very much, Moses. I'd just like to maybe ask Anna now, just to share some reflections. I know Anna has some material. Maybe I could just give a bit more information about Anna. Anna is a JP and Chief Executive of Gs1 in Hong Kong. Over 30 years of senior management in strategy formulation, business planning execution, and pioneering innovative industry platforms. In her current role, she leads the organization to establish platforms, ecosystems, and programs to drive industry adoption of global supply chain standards. And we've spoken in previous meetings about how supply chain and global supply chains are going to be one of the biggest challenges post-COVID and with the geopolitical developments. And to how to drive the adoption of global supply chain standards, practice, and technologies, digital e-commerce, and Internet of Things development. Anna is actually a chartered fellow, an FCILT, which means a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport. And Anna's had a number of appointments. She's well known to many of us for all the public service in Hong Kong, including the Vice Chairman of the Subcommittee on Infrastructure and Promotion for the Hong Kong Logistics Development Council, for the HKSAR, and actually the Chairman of the Hong Kong Logistics Development Council was at the Global Belt and Road Forum and spoke last week. Chairman of the Asia Institute of Supply Chains and Logistics Advisory Committee of the Chinese University of Hong Kong. Anna, as I mentioned before, is heavily involved in the Smart City Consortium and is chairperson of the Supply Chain Special Interest. A member of the Hong Kong-Taiwan Business Cooperation Committee, advisor of the Hong Kong ASEAN Economic Cooperation Foundation, and many other roles in Hong Kong, and actually is a director of a board of the Hong Kong Foundation of the University of Birmingham, and is an advisory board member of the University of Birmingham. Anna is a native of Hong Kong and has an MBA in strategic management from the University of Birmingham. Anna, very, very warm welcome. Your reputation precedes you. We're delighted you're joining PBEC. And I understand you'd just like to share some reflections with us.
Thank you, Andrew, for your very kind introduction. Good morning or good day to everyone, particularly the opening by Andrew, Moses, and various members of the PBEC board. And also to our guest, Dr. Paulina Chan. In fact, a side note to Paulina, GS1 Hong Kong is now working with IEEE on the IoT standardization initiative. It's just for a coincidence that we meet now on virtually. So again, this is my first time joining the PBEC board, and Mike has asked me to have a brief introduction of what GS1 Hong Kong is about. So I have prepared 2 slides to share with fellow board members. So might I just share the screen first?
Yeah, we can see them, Anna.
Are you okay? I want to make a bigger one, but anyway.
Yeah, click on that button there, Anna. Yeah.
What? Not.
Yeah, that one.
Let's see.
That's the button. Just click. Yeah.
Yeah, but maybe my fingers not as not so sensitive.
As Moses said, we're not slaves to technology.
It's okay. You can move through the slides. We can see them, Anna. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No, this is not a slide. This one. Maybe. Oh, share. Sorry, I have to redo again. Much better. Sorry for the delay. What I'd like to do for the 2 slides is, one is to have a brief introduction of who is GS1. Some of you may not have heard about GS1, so I'd like to have 1 slide summarizing what GS1 is. And the next one is to highlight some of our initiatives, especially not just Hong Kong, but also for GS1 Asia Pacific. And I believe many of these initiatives share a lot of common interests with PBEC. So first of all, who is GS1? GS1 is a not-for-profit data standard organization. We're headquartered in Brussels, Belgium, and with global presence in over 150 economies. Although we have physical chapters in over 115, but actually we are represented in over 150 economies. And in fact, it covers most of the Belt and Road economies as well. In Asia Pacific, we have 23 chapters, and we work including Hong Kong. And from time to time, we have a lot of Zoom meetings, as Moses just mentioned. Sometimes too many work group meetings. One of GS1's best known data standards, even though some of you may not have heard about GS1, certainly you must have heard of one of our best known standards, which is barcode, the product barcode. Now, in fact, this is much more than a barcode. It helped revolutionize in the beginning the retail industry. But in fact, this product identity is a unique product identification standard, one of which in the form of a barcode, which is now scanned on self-counting over 6 billion times a day around the world in all the retail stores. GS1's standards are actually used across industries, not just retail, but healthcare, food, logistics, etc., etc. And our main objective is to enable digital trade data flow, which I'm sure you can also share the same vision, and also to enable efficient and safe business, transparent supply chain, and with the objective of enhancing consumer experience as well as patient safety. We also have diverse global partnerships, not only with governmental organizations like OECD, European Union, FDA because of the Healthcare and Food Initiative, APEC, of course, but also various global trade and standards bodies like the World Customs Organization, WTO, the World Trade Organization, the International Chamber, the IATA, the ISO, etc., etc. So you can see on this chart, this is just a glimpse of the various global partners that GS1 have developed. Not to mention that recently we have also a partnership with the construction, the building smart organizations globally. So in GS1, as I said, we have 23 physical chapters in Asia Pacific, and we work very closely together on various initiatives. And I picked these 4 as an example to illustrate because I believe they might be of interest to PBEC board members or PBEC at large. But the first one is they are related to the cross-border supply chain. I heard Andrew talking about the focus of PBEC as well on supply chain, and indeed supply chain is at the core of GS1. And in Asia Pacific, we have initiatives such as the cross-border supply chain, which use or promote the use of global data standards for trade and logistics connectivity. And this has been, some of them have already been completed, some are also in continuous mode. And these have gained or endorsed by PBEC, government, as well as APEC, which is the APEC Business Advisory Council, as well as Edmund, which is the Sea Freight Logistics Operation Center under APEC. So you can see we have a lot of cross-border supply chain initiatives connecting trade routes. And GS1 Hong Kong in particular, 2 years ago, we have led some of these projects to connect different trade routes across at least 5 economies. Like this is Australian wine to Hong Kong, Australia's beef to United States, Mexico, I think is the tequila. Mexico is a tequila, and then Peru is the asparagus, and Malaysian durian to Hong Kong and China, etc., etc. So our role is that we are the project manager for all these different trade routes, and in addition to being the project management, we also provided the Hong Kong developed traceability platform. We call it Easy Track because we need a tool to connect all the different trade routes to provide end-to-end visibility. On the flip side, we also, in the Asia Pacific, we also work closely with the APEC policy partnership on food security. And I myself is one of the Hong Kong representatives under the APEC PPFS. And our focus is on supply chain resilience, looking for traceability, interoperability, as well as connectivity. And of course, in the region, we've also worked with Asian Development Bank to look for traceability of agri-foods for more of developing economies. Unfortunately, Hong Kong is not yet counted into this initiative. Another area which is also very, very important for economic development is the emergence of marketplaces. As we all know today, with not just with COVID, but it's the entire consumer behavior is not just physical, but also virtual. So there is a huge emergence of many different marketplaces globally, regionally, and locally. You probably have heard of Amazon, eBay, Alibaba, and Google is much more than searching. Google will also launch their marketplaces. So to enhance consumer experience and to support these emergence of these marketplaces, GS1 worked very closely with them. Globally, we have set up a global marketplace advisory board, but regionally, we also set up work groups to coordinate various initiatives. And the objective is to be able to address the use of accurate, searchable, and linkable data to link on this online, offline. So this is just a glimpse of who we are and snapshots of what GS1, Hong Kong, and Asia Pacific. This is, of course, this is not the full suite, but I just highlight this because I believe GS1 and PBEC have a lot of common objectives and interests, particularly on trade connectivity, particularly on digital transformation, as well as for consumer experience, etc. And of course, I heard various comments on the fintech as well. This is another area that is very important to make supply chain work, because we all know for supply chain is the goods flow, information flow, as well as funds flow. And this is very, very important. So on this, I look forward to my to working with all the directors of the PBEC board, and I also like to echo what Moses last remark. I wish everyone stay healthy and safe. Thank you very much.
Anna, thank you so much. I knew what GS1 did, but the scale of it, the resonance of it, and the obvious alignment with APEC, ABAC, and others is fantastic. And really look forward to working with you, Anna. And I'm sure fellow members do as well. Anson, I know you wanted just to make a couple of reflections. And Anson, thank you very much for your introductions of Anna to PBEC. Anson?
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. Thank you very much. And good morning, everybody, or good evening, wherever you are around the globe. I also just wanted to thank Anna for agreeing to be part of PBEC. I've had the great fortune of knowing Anna for many years, and it's incredible that Anna's been the chief executive and leading GS1 for a very long time. Andrew, what I was going to say, of course, is that we are working very closely with Anna and the GS1 team on all of those global supply chain standards. And I think there's a lot of cross-fertilization with PBEC and the PBEC members. Anna and I have also, in the last few years, been involved in a number of initiatives looking at how we can bring traditional businesses together with those platform businesses. And in fact, several weeks ago, Anna and I shared the stage at the convention center with several hundred delegates in person. I think that was the biggest event I've been to for the longest time, Anna. And we were also sharing our latest research on the realignment of retail players. And of course, we were interviewing a lot of those big multinational corporations and other big corporations. But Anna, you and I were also actively talking to Alibaba. We were talking to all of those platform businesses and talking about the future of those supply chains as well. So, we've been collaborating personally for several years. But at the same time, we really look forward to having you on board to PBEC, Anna, and we're delighted that you've accepted our invitation. And I know for all of us, including Mike, we really look forward to working with you in the weeks and months ahead.
Thank you, Anson.
Thank you, Anson, as well. I should have also highlighted that we have been working with Anson and KPMG for at least 5-6 years until now. Every year we did this survey of the business as well as consumers on this, I would say, O2O, of digital commerce, put it this way. And every year it's a big subject that's presented at the GS1 Hong Kong Annual Summit. And the results have been magnificent, and the engagement with the industry, particularly business leaders across different sectors, is amazing. The sharing of their wisdoms and also the sharing of the consumers' insight. It's not just Hong Kong, but we have extended to GBA, with the Bay Area, covering all the different cities. So this is another thing which thank you so much, Anson. And I look forward to our continuous collaboration.
Thank you very much, Anna. And Mike, just thinking ahead to a future meeting, I think we should cover in more detail RCEP. We've got some of the speakers from the Global Belt and Road Forum, including the university professor, may be useful. And I think to drill down a bit more, having heard the wonderful presentation from Anna, in a session on supply chains in the next one. Again, a lot of us are in this space in different ways. Let's look at how we can pull together a vibrant discussion on the future of supply chains, Mike. I think that'd be very useful.
Yeah.
So moving on, I briefly wanted to welcome Paulina at the beginning because, you know, a new face to a number. So let me just give a bit more background to Paulina. So Dr. Paulina Chan is a global citizen and is principal and CEO of the Global Mutual Consortium, international think tank on tech, biz intelligence and innovation business development. Strong advocate for young professionals and women in STEM, so very much aligned with us. Holds a PhD in EE and DIC from Imperial College London and MPA from University of London. She was the managing director of AT&T Lucent Technologies in the US, Asia Pacific and the EU, and project director of ExxonMobil Corporation headquarters, New York, and China regional general manager and expatriate of ICO Global Communications London and Beijing. Paulina is the chair of IEEE USA Hong Kong section, which is named as an outstanding organization in 2021, and is chair-elect of the Public Visibility Commission Worldwide 2020. Paulina, we need to understand more of these roles. They sound fantastic. And is the elect trustee of the Chartered Management Institute in the UK and the chair of the CMI Regional Board in Hong Kong. Paulina is a chartered manager and being appointed as Companion CCMI, the highest ranking of the Chartered Management Institute in the UK. Well done, Paulina. Also a champion of the Imperial College Mentoring Program for the Imperial College Alumni Association and founding chair of Imperial Women in World, DSP, and a former Imperial Ambassador. It's a remarkable CV, Paulina, and we're very honored to have you today, and a very warm welcome. And now we pass on to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Greetings to everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all my friends from BPEC all over the world. I'm delighted to be invited as a speaker to continue the dialogue of all the talents and wisdom as shared, among all the professionals of BPEC. The objective for me are two. Number one, I'd like to briefly, identify and introduce to you what IEEE is. And the most important thing is how IEEE contribute to generate a symbiotic value of technology advancement and global economy. I think the BPEC is very much, into the mission and vision of global economy, and IEEE vision is advancing technology for humanity. So I see the strong synergy between the two institutes. As Anna has explained and also covered, the important missions of the Standard Institute, IEEE headquarters in the US also had a strong force, as what Mr. Chairman has introduced at the beginning. There are over 420,000 professional members of IEEE, not including student members, spread over in 160 countries in 10 regions. Just Asia Pacific region, that's where we are, we have over 200 professional members, including China. And Hong Kong alone, we have over 9,000 professional members. They are academia, research and development leaders, professionals in industries, as well as public sector's leaders. And their expertise are across discipline. And this is the myth because IEEE is an old brand, so it almost in the past, restricted to electrical and electronic engineering because of the industrial revolution of the UK. And at that time, IEEE was a major force. But as time moved on, as IEEE have already moving towards the Asia Pacific and also to the Northern American region, it is an all-encompassing discipline, including all kinds of science and technology, including architectures, economists, and social sciences. I think this is a major leapfrog, and that is the beauty of IEEE being a professional home for everybody. Let me take a look at the collaborations. The two things I'm talking about are two. Number one is our focus on collaborations and alliances. Collaborations, in Hong Kong, I can draw a few examples, as I say, in public and private, industry and sectors. And for international, we also link very much into the leadership and management professional organizations, such as the chartered members. They are very important to form a very solid team in order to move strategic initiatives and programs ahead, in order to really facilitate the benefits of the needs of the people, all the way from basic consumer all the way to big industries. From the industry point of view, we also are alliance of all the multiple national industries, as you are familiar with to you. And all of them have regional headquarters in Hong Kong and also in the Greater Bay Area. There are over 3,000 of MNC, across the world, within our hub and also in the background. And then what we do together, we were the first one in February 2000 to set up a webinar to make the world alert of the COVID-19. At that time, it wasn't even a pandemic. However, we have a collaborations with academia, Imperial College, the Chartered Management Institute to talk about the leadership and manager status, as well as IEEE to simulate, the model and development of such a horrible disease. And we were the first pioneer to bring this to the attention to the world. We also put attention to work with academia. We have constant hackathon. And the theme of the hackathon of today is the application of technology in business. That's what Dr. Moses Cheng said about, the correlation, the synergy, who is serving who. Definitely technology, the application of technology is serving the needs of individuals. However, individuals need to be aware of the availability and also the benefits of such application. So these two are interrelated. And the platform of doing all that, other than with academia and higher education institutes in Hong Kong and all over the world, we also go to the Chamber of Commerce. There are so many chambers of commerce in Hong Kong. The key one, the UK, the US, the Chinese Chamber of Commerce, the Australian Chamber of Commerce, the Irish Chamber of Commerce those are our partners. Together, we promote the use of technologies. We also look into reaching local and going global. That is no point to be an island sitting on our own and talking about the beauty of technologies. We must do two things. Number one, to educate the youth. One thing, there are so many secondary school, pre-university schools in Hong Kong, and the network is enormous. Just the Anglican network of schools, the local schools are tremendous. So we go to them and start working with the students, working with the very hot subjects they're interested in, such as the drone, such as the underwater robotics, and such such as the building of artificial intelligence using coding. And also, as you know, that BPEC is very much into smart cities. So we also work with government organization, the Innovation Bureau, the Environmental Bureau, and also the Information Technology Executive to go to look into ways of urban renewal with the construction industries. We believe that together we build. So on our way, we never stops. We're not tired, and we do many things, throughout the year internationally, reaching local and going global through collaborations and through alliances. One particular event that I would like to draw your attention is the International Convention of IEEE TANCON. TANCON meaning the focus of Asia Pacific. Region 10 is Asia Pacific. And next year we have an international big flagship conference will be in Hong Kong and also with the Greater Bay Area. I invite, BPEC representatives and the BPEC committee and BPEC members to be part of this, because I believe, and the theme of the conference is technology business intelligence. And you can see there are many forums and many tracks, including multinational interests, including cross-disciplinary expertise, including from students to professionals, covering all subjects we are related, to that. And why are we doing that? Because we are part of the digital transformation. And together we can do that better and faster so that, we can make a better world. This is just a very brief introduction of IEEE. And I want to bring in two messages for you to bring home. Number one, IEEE is not just for engineers. IEEE is for everyone. This is the professional home for the use of technology in humanity. And we are on our way to do bigger, better, and more effective. Thank you for your attention, and I look forward to our continued dialogue.
Andrew, you're muted.
Paulina, thank you so much. I've learned a lot about IEEE, and I see great synergy with what we're trying to do in PBEC and also the member organizations. And let us look at how we can collaborate. Mike, we may even look at possible MOUs, collaboration, etc. But Paulina, it is a remarkable organization and this tech biz focus. And I'm very glad you've taken the time, because in my mind, I had thought of it as engineering. So very, very much appreciated. Can I just open up to the floor if there's any questions for Paulina? I've got a couple. Maybe I just see if anybody else has a question.
Mr. Chairman, just to let you know, if anybody there would like to raise their hand, I'm going to stop share screen so I can see people raising their hand. There's a raise hand function at the bottom, and I can then get you unmuted if anybody wishes to make a comment or mention in the chat box. And in the meantime, back to you, Chairman, while they figure that out.
I mean, Paulina, just a couple of points. It's a pity George isn't on the call because, as you know, George runs a cyberport here and has been talking about the digital connectivity. But when you look in the region, Paulina, which any particular geographies when you're finding that IEEE is focusing more or getting traction or looking to develop?
Yes, absolutely. Our 5-year strategic plan of IEEE Global has been Asia Pacific, in particular, Hong Kong and the Greater Bay Area. Because the Greater Bay Area itself is 10% of the GDP of China. And then and also the amount of the trade is equivalent to the entirety of Saudi Arabia. And the size of the Greater Bay Area is the size of the country France. So this is really not something to look lightly into. And more importantly, when we're talking about digital transformation, all the headquarters, all the service company, all the production company, manufacturing company, supply chain company are all focusing on, the Greater Bay Area. And Hong Kong is a natural to be the hub, to be the platform, to be the channel, especially of our great development of fintech technology, in edtech technology, in health tech technology, and of course the smart tech. Hong Kong is the only place which is qualified and also with the expertise, especially in leadership and management, in project management, in order to take the lead and contribute to the development of such. So this is the focus of IEEE. We know it very well. And that's why for 2000 and next year, I would be the global chair of the Public Visibility Commission of the IEEE, looking into the all 10 regions and with very special focus to integrate them and put our attention to the Asia Pacific. And I look forward to have a very good collaborations with BPEC and all your member organizations.
Thank you, Paulina. That's a tremendous role. Much appreciated. The second question, you touched on it, sustainability. And in your CV, you do a lot with diversity, trying to encourage young people, which is a big theme of Moses and others, and women in STEM. Can you just expand a bit on what you're doing in the sustainability and that diversity space? Because I think this is super.
My pleasure. Yes. IEEE is collaborating with the United Nations. We look into the 18 Sustainability Development Goals developed by the United Nations. It's for the well-being and the development of humanity. And among those, we focus on well-being, we focus on young professionals, we focus on women. Just like last night, we had a big conference with the UN and IEEE just on this very subjects. Because no matter what we talk about industries, when we talk about development, we can't go without education. STEM education is for all, and STEM is now, and STEM is for the future. So in this case, we must introduce STEM to all, and specifically to the younger generations. And on what objective is for the benefit of humanity. So this is a diversity. We are not just talking about gender diversity. We are talking about age diversity. We are talking about experience diversity. Just like BPEC, you have a very diverse members, and you have a very and IEEE has a very diverse age, and also culture communities. So all these are important to have a synchronization and integrated applications so that we can draw on each other's strengths. And teamwork is so important. And the COVID give us such fringe benefit because normally we travel 12 hours, to A and B, and then return within 2 days. However, just sitting in my office now or at home in the evening, I just click on, and then I talk to the whole world. So of course, that is another a side effect of how many Zoom can you attend? How many WebEx do you need to learn in order to be fluent and proficient? But let's forget about those. Technologies are meant to serve people. So we must take full advantage of it. We must, make sure that we proceed with the sustainable technology goals and we apply it to people of our circle, people of our extended network as much as we can.
Thank you, Paulina. Well said. Totally agree. I noticed a very good question from Debbie on the chat box. I'm not sure if Debbie's able to speak, Mike, or is the format that we read out the chat box question?
If maybe you can read it out and then I'll allow her to talk in what Paulina's response is.
Okay, Paulina, a question from Debbie, who actually was Mike's predecessor as the chief executive of PBEC and is now in Australia. Of course, I've now lost the question, but the question was about.
I can read it out. I can read it out, Mr. Chairman.
You got it.
Yeah.
No, I got it, Mike.
Okay, go ahead.
It's about, Paulina, the perspective IEEE has on research and development and the commercialization of research and development. That was the theme of the question. Mike, the actual words have slipped off my screen. Have I covered that question rightly?
Yeah, I mean, basically, to what extent are IEEE members involved in R&D commercialization, and what are the trends in this area?
Very good question too. IEEE is a professional society. So among the 400,000 members, as well as just in Hong Kong, among the 9,000 professional members, many of academia and also industry leaders. So they are very much involved into R&D, research and development. Like every year, we have over 1,200 standards. Our standards go to NC and also standards go to ITU. And we have 1,600, conferences. All these are peer-reviewed paper and patent, so that, the research and development is a very major focus, to develop the professional. Then we say that what are the key things that IEEE are looking into? Among our 39 societies from A to B, the top 5 being cloud computing, big data analytics, Internet of Things, cybersecurity, and artificial intelligence. So these are the focus of IEEE, and also the classic circuit and system, communications network, which provide us the platform, and e-commerce, artificial everything, 3D printing, power storage. All these have direct impact, to our life. And we all need speedy, and also the last one, and not because of its importance, because of the forthcoming future, is quantum computing. So these are the focus of the R&D. I hope I answer your question, Debbie.
Is Debbie on? It's an excellent answer, Paulina. Is Debbie on?
Yes, I can speak. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Debbie.
Great. Yes, I mean, fascinating, and I think extremely important is the interface between business, commercialization, and the research and development, because development doesn't really cover commercialization in today's world. So anything that can be done from a business perspective, which is the sort of area in which we all sit, that can be done to enhance that connectivity, I think is a very important part of what PBEC can and should be doing in its role as a connector. Thank you.
Absolutely. I myself is a business person. I'm a technology business person. My think tank are all on technology business development. So I understand, the needs very well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Debbie. Great question.
Pleasure.
And Paulina, thank you again. It's lovely to see you. I think you've gained a lot of new friends today, and we wish you and IEEE all the best. And I'd love to have a further conversation with you and with Mike about how we can work together more and mutually support the aims of our organizations. But Paulina, thank you so much. Much appreciated.
Mr. Chairman,
it's mutual.
Oh, thank you.
The feeling is mutual.
Oh, very
yes.
thank you.
Mr. Chairman, we have Tandri Rayner Althorpe who would like to make a comment.
Oh, great. Yeah, thank you.
Go ahead, Tandri.
Hello, Tandri.
Hello?
Please go ahead. Yeah.
Hello?
Good morning, especially
Morning.
to Dr. Paulina. I'm representing a global player, a growing global player from Malaysia. I'm a German citizen working in Malaysia. And I see now my own history in Hong Kong. My own history, many years, 2 or 3, more than 3 decades ago, I worked for Siemens and a Hong Kong office, and I had to enter China via Hong Kong. So now there's a big question mark. How is the functionality of Hong Kong in context of China and rest of the world? So I think there's now a reverse development. So what I understood now is that Hong Kong is now the base of, in a very smart, intelligent base of China to enter from there the rest of the world. That is my interpretation. Because as Andrew said, the connectivity of the Belt and Road Initiative is a global, it was China, and it was a connectivity attempt. In 1910, it was the first one, Silk and Road Initiative in 1910, to connect China and Germany. And now it's a bit different dimension. And this is now the complexity. The change of trade, the center or the epicenter of trade moved from the United States to China. And the Belt and Road needs, that is my opinion about my own experience made over the last 40 years, is China needs trade partners. So the weakness of the United States as a trade partner is clear, but how to strengthen the future economy in China and using Hong Kong as an exit point, not as an entry point anymore, but now it's an exit point. You know, it's a very strategic element, I see. And that is actually making Hong Kong more valuable. So there was a big question mark on Hong Kong for a long time. And now I got aware that this is an exit point, a global exit point into the rest of the world. And I wonder, that is my question, how the future connectivity between China, Hong Kong, and the rest of the world is going to happen regarding the Belt and Road Initiative.
Thank you, Rainer. Very, very good question. Is that directed at Paulina, Anna, or would you like me or someone just to give some reflections? I think your comment is very well made. I think, please, yes.
I'm happy to say a few words. Yes.
Thank you, Paulina. Thank you.
Yes, Rainer, thank you for your comments. And IEEE also have a good section in Malaysia and of course in Germany. So I hope that you would be able to get in touch with them and try to get more collaborations between your organization and BPAC and also IEEE. Talking about the Hong Kong role, the role of Hong Kong, to China, as I said, Hong Kong is part of China, and Hong Kong play a very unique role, especially in support of the Greater Bay Area, in terms of technology export, in terms of fintech, in terms of finance and development, manufacturing, technology development, products and services. So I would see nowadays, with the global economy and the digitization, there is no particular distinction between import and entrance and exit, because on one thing we exit and on the other thing we enter. So this is part of the beauty of the digitization of the technology of the global aspect. Another thing I think Anna will elaborate a lot more is the global standardization. Nowadays, everything is based on de facto standard. Whoever speaks the loudest, do the fastest, have a bigger market coverage is the standard. However, doing digital transformation, this is not working because incompatible standard is not going to take us very far. And we have to, rely on Anna's organization to take the lead. And of course, IEEE also have a very good perspective in terms of collaborations. So I think the new world would have a partnership, will have a common standard, will have digitization and political the sound of politics will, I hope, will play lower and lower, and the sound of economy, the sound of benefits of humanity will be louder and louder through collaborations. Thank you.
Thank you, Paulina. Anna, any reflections? Anything you wish to add, Anna?
Yeah, thank you. Just like to share some of our experience from GS1 perspective. I think Paulina has also, she knows very well. I think standardization plays a very, very key role, especially connecting China to the rest of the world. In my experience, within the GS1 years experience, I would say that I can't remember since when, at least 6 or 7 or more than that, China used to be pretty much within China, not so vocal globally. However, as I said, within I think since 7 or 8 years ago, I can't exactly remember, China has been stepping up their influence on the global arena. I'm not just talking about the World Trade, World Health. I'm just even from our GS1 perspective, they are on our global management board. They're very active. We also have a global kind of ranking. Okay, I don't know how to say that. US always top #1, and then followed by Germany. And since some years back, China is now ranked. I mean, we have a criteria of ranking. I don't go into the detail, but the economic development and things like this. China is now properly ranked at least within 5 or 3, number 3 now, and they have stepped up their influence. So this is in that I would say this is a national policy, and they would like to connect with the world, to have that kind of influence. They even have exchange. They are willing to. They are one of the very rare GS1 chapter. They're willing to second a full-time staff, to Brussels every year, to have that kind of a connection. So on the other hand, when we're talking about, say for example, in Hong Kong, when we years back we developed a white paper on Belt and Road, and precisely we put in standardization as a key foundation. For Belt and Road, for the success of Belt and Road, because no one else, if we can't shake hands with the standard, particularly on information connectivity. I think at that time when we dropped the paper, the white paper, there isn't a particular area for information connectivity, but we put it under, I can't remember exactly what it is, but we put under the information connectivity of the Belt and Road, and that is the importance of standardization. And within China, they have this, under the forgot the English name of the People Council. They also put standardization as the key tool for the Belt and Road initiative. So, so in terms of the wish list, China definitely wants to go out. And in terms of Hong Kong, because Hong Kong is a very Hong Kong has a very unique culture of this East and West. So, and then our information, our legal structure, and all that kind of thing, let alone the politics, although, in recent years of the sanction law and things like might pose concern. Nonetheless, we still have that kind of DNA in our blood, and we still have a very robust financial, legal, as well as the information, infrastructure. I do think that Hong Kong has a role to, using some of people say, super connector, right? I think the super connector is a bit too superficial. Maybe we can do more than connector, but integrator.
Yeah, better. Anna, Paulina, thank you very much. And Mike, I think your model of having very experienced, interesting, relevant speakers for the members is a great one. Listening to Rainer's question and also Debbie's question, I think in future meetings, a robust discussion about the future direction of trade and the R&D thing makes a huge amount of sense. And just thinking aloud, some of those trade negotiators we know, some of the people in governments who've been handling trade negotiations, and interestingly, some of the other NGOs, like, you know, the regional logistics organizations and others, I think, Mike, having access to these and sharing with our members is important, because Ryan has raised this question before, the future direction of trade. It may well be we ask a couple of the government representatives to APAC to share and discuss what's on their agenda. We might find that we'll end up putting things on their agenda. So the Nicholas Ho's and the Mary Huns of the world in Hong Kong, but in other countries, it would be other representatives. I think let's have a look at that. And I think this format, carrying on like that and having it centered on trade, I think would be very valuable to members.